So I was browsing through YouTube the other day like I normally do, and I noticed this video about the most affordable Netflix approved cinema cameras. Curiosity got the best of me, so I clicked to find out what Netflix considered a worthy camera for videography and filmmaking. After watching the video and reading the comments, it became crystal clear that there was a lot of confusion out there about which cameras you can and can't use if you want to get your documentary or your film onto Netflix. In this video, I'm going to clear up those misconceptions and also direct you to my top 5 camera choices for videography and filmmaking. And spoiler alert, 3 of them are on the Netflix approved list and 2 of them aren't. But soon you'll know exactly why. That doesn't matter in the slightest. The first important fact that many overlook when dropping their hard-earned cash on an expensive Netflix-approved cinema camera is that you can get your work onto Netflix regardless of which camera it was shot on. There was an award-winning film on Netflix that was shot entirely on an iPhone 8. The list of Netflix-approved cameras are only a requirement for someone who's been hired by Netflix to shoot original Netflix content. For the average filmmaker that wants to sell their movie or documentary to Netflix, the only requirement is that Netflix likes your film enough to put it on their platform. They really could care less which camera you use to shoot it. They do have some general guidelines for aspiring filmmakers, which I'll go over with you shortly. But even those are just guidelines. They're not requirements. So before I tell you about those guidelines, as well as my favorite cameras, first I have to warn you about something. And that's a condition called GAS, also known as Gear Acquisition Syndrome. This is where you're stuck in a reoccurring loop of buying new camera gear, thinking that it's going to be the key to your creative success. As soon as you purchase the coveted piece of gear you've been fawning after, you sit on the couch and fiddle with it a little bit, enjoying your short-lived dopamine rush, and after a week or about a month, you still haven't finished any project with it. But you've somehow managed to convince yourself that there's yet another piece of gear that you need to get you going. It's a vicious cycle, and you don't want to get caught up in it. So what you could do instead is to intentionally embrace the shortcomings and limitations of your gear and work around them. By doing this, it's going to really develop and fine-tune your skills. Then once you've reached the real limit of your gear and you decide to upgrade, you'll have the necessary experience to pair with your new gear. This may seem counterintuitive for me to tell you, considering that this is a gear and tutorial channel and I make the bulk of my income from affiliate marketing. But believe me, it's the truth. Don't get me wrong though, because I'm not at all suggesting that you should be using outdated gear if you don't have to. I am, however, suggesting that using outdated gear isn't going to stop a person from creating amazing work if that person is truly determined to do so. If money isn't a consideration and you enjoy having the best of the best, there's nothing wrong with that at all. As a matter of fact, you can use the links in the description below to purchase said expensive gear. But keep in mind that it would benefit you to be intentional with your gear purchases. I mean, why would you drop copious amounts of cash on a new camera when you could just go to my website, fulancreative.com, and purchase my Filmic Love Pack for only 15 bucks? I'm just saying. I'll leave a link in the description below. The truth is, you should be shooting with the best camera that you could comfortably afford. So getting back to those Netflix approved cameras. So now that we know that they're not even a requirement for your work to get on Netflix in the first place, let's take a look at those 5 guidelines that Netflix encourages you to abide by. Basically, they want you to use a camera that can record in 4K UHD, which has a resolution of 3840 by 2160 pixels. They prefer that you shoot in an uncompressed RAW format. But if you do shoot in a compressed format, then something like ProRes, which has minimal compression, is preferred. You should be shooting in your camera's native color space and not Rec 709. The camera should be able to output timecode so that Netflix's audio people don't have any difficulty syncing everything up in post. And lastly, you should be shooting with a camera that has 10-bit 422 capability. Now, if your current camera isn't capable of doing those things, keep in mind that even these guidelines are intended for Netflix commissioned producers working on Netflix original content. They're encouraged to go by these guidelines when they can't use a Netflix approved camera due to the thing not fitting on their gimbal or drone or whatever. For the average person who's trying to sell a finished product to Netflix, these guidelines are a good reference point, but honestly, they don't even really apply. As long as Netflix likes your film and believes it's gonna make them money, it could have been shot on your grandpa's 1982 camcorder for all they care. That being said, if you want to know my personal top 5 cameras that I recommend, then I highly suggest you watch this video next, where I break down the 5 best cameras for videography and filmmaking. Make sure to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss future videos. I appreciate you watching till the end, and I'll see you in the next one. It's Fulan Creative, and I'm out. Peace.